Hello everyone, welcome to Finale Mondiali 2023. Coppa Shell drivers out there on track to qualify for the world final race to come tomorrow. All the championships are sealed, done and dusted. It's now all about who will win the coveted, what I've always termed the gold roof race, the one-off race for the Finale Mondiali. And it's every region of the Ferrari Challenge takes part in said race. And who will take the honours of that gold roof. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. It's a beautiful day here in Mugello, which I have to say for the 5, 6, 7 days that I've been here, it's the best day that we've had so far. And it is the Shell drivers that will go out, the best of the Shell drivers to try and put themselves into a position where top 6 of the drivers in our qualifying session of 25 minutes today will go through to this afternoon's fantastic, dramatic, theatrical Super Pole to ascertain who will be pole position for the Finale Mondiali race. 19 degrees the air temperature. The track temperature is identical to that. There's a little bit of wind around, some cloud as you can see. But between the clouds there is blue sky and a dry track at the moment. And dry wit, as always, will accompany our broadcast today with my German colleague Nico Spalek, who's renowned for his witticisms.
No.
Okay. The 116 car that we were looking at, Kanja Yagura. I'm assuming that the no was not that you didn't want to contribute, so I apologize.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back here to Mugello. And as Dave, you already said, it is lovely, gorgeous out there. Not only the weather, not only the car, it is a very vibrant paddock, made even more vibrant by the fact that so many people have already filed here into the paddock, walking about, enjoying the display of the old Formula One cars. The car which won the Nürburgring 24 hours in May, and obviously the car that won in June at Le Mans, at the Circuit de la Sarthe. The 499P, legendary car that, on the return of Ferrari to the royal class of motorsport in endurance racing, the top class, took the outright win back at Le Mans for Ferrari. And all of that will be on display throughout today, tomorrow. If you're anywhere near Mugello, then please, please, please join the crowds that are already here and come and witness this glorious event as we go onto the track. In but 2 minutes, this qualifying session with Manuel Agostner is going to get underway. And down in the pit lane, we have a learned colleague, Ludovica, I think, with us.
Good morning, guys. What a day, what an atmosphere here at the Mugello circuit. Everything is ready for the qualifying session of Coppa Shell. This is an important day and an important moment for tomorrow, for Finale Mondiali. Everything is ready. All the cars, all the drivers are ready for this qualifying session here with Manu Gosner. Everything is ready for this important moment.
Nice trousers, Ludo, similar to mine. Ernst Kirchmeier, Kanja Yagura, Christian Kinch, Alexander Nussbaumer, Yasutuka Shirasaki, John Dillon. I mean, there's the whole paddock and a whole pit lane littered with top talent names from our Shell drivers. And whether they be drivers from Europe or North America, they're all going into this Finale Mondiali quali session, of which it's just 25 minutes long. The target, the aim for all the drivers in this is to get into the top 6, because the top 6 will promote them into Super Pole this afternoon, which would give them, obviously, the target in that is to get P1 when it comes to the Finale Mondiali race tomorrow. So the Gold Roof race, and Christian Herd-Viper, who we can see there for ML Frey Sportivo, will be one of those that will be targeting that, as will Christian Kinch, who I have to say, Christian Kinch has had torrid luck this weekend, where he's been right royally nerfed off on a couple of occasions. And yeah, he'll be hoping to right the wrongs of the previous day's activities on track for him personally, and put it all right for the world final race, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first time ever that we get a dedicated day for qualifying for the world final race, which will happen tomorrow as the pit exit opens, the light goes green, and we have this session underway. Obviously, it will take a few moments until we get some realistic times, because obviously everybody has to get out of pit lane, do the out lap, do an installation lap before we get any real challenges for top times. But it is, as you said, we have a quality session. We have that 10-minute segment of the Super Pole, to which these Shell drivers will qualify, the top 6 will. Everybody from P7 down will start in the position in the race relative to where they finish this qualifying session, but the top 6, it's kind of academic if you're P1, if you're P2 or 5 or 6.
Doesn't matter, you're in.
The very bold line between 6 and 7, which is the denominating key distinction between you're in and you're out. And for the moment, 22 cars and already out. It's the first car which spun around and couldn't quite make out which car that was. So we'll maybe get a replay of that.
It might have been Thomas Loflad, but it might not. I might be doing Thomas a big disservice, but it was a red car and Thomas's car is red.
Fair enough.
So out on cold tyres, I would suggest, and that's why when you were testing the limits of adhesion that are available to you in the early stages of this qualifying session, then proving that just how far you can go and how it might just bite you on the bottom if you go too far round. We will see. Axel Sardigan, of course, has won the Shell Championship. He will be determined to take the World Final race, and he's with Ludovica right now.
Thank you, guys. Axel, good morning. Not an easy weekend this for you, but now the focus is on the qualifying session. So how do you prepare with your team and with your coach for today?
Yes, we're well prepared. We had some good trainings here. Hopefully we have a clean lap and nobody's blocking us. A lot of cars on the track. But if that is not going to happen in this first qualifying, we think we have a good prepared car, a top car by Hertha Racing. And I try my best to nail a good lap time on the asphalt.
Thank you for your time, Axel.
Thanks.
Back to you.
Sardigan is a wonderful guy. Hugely successful. He came very close to taking the championship last year. He was denied by Franz Engstler, which if you're going to be denied by anyone when it comes to racing pedigree, ain't a bad bloke to be denied by, but he's certainly put it right this year, and he has won, and won decisively and determinedly, has Axel Sardigan. Now he wants to take the World Final race. So let's see all the cars that are out there, including Jan Bernier and Frank Szczesniak, two really distinctive orange cars that you'll see from our North American series of the Ferrari Challenge, which again has been a hugely successful season. And here we can see Christian Herdvipper, who might be the first to give us a half meaningful time, I would suggest, by dint of when he went out on track. Ernst Kirchmeier, who's had a bit part campaign, if I can say it in that way, in the Ferrari Challenge this year. He's taken the 2 wins in the races that we have had so far this weekend. Say weekend, because they were racing on Thursday and Friday. Manuela Gostner, well, she will want to put herself as far up the order as she can, and certainly targeting a top 6 finish in this qualifying session, of which there is only 21.5 minutes remaining already. So it goes by really quickly. I love the short, sharp qualifying session. I'm going to love even more the Super Pole session, which is just going to be 10 minutes. So yeah, that's going to be very exciting this afternoon. And as Nico says, it's an absolute first and exclusive in the Finale Mondiale, to my reckoning, that we have done such a good qualifying system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, qualifying in Ferrari Challenge is always interesting, but given that it's a one-race dash for cash tomorrow, I think this new system where it's 1 day for qualifying, which, you know, there is a title at the end of tomorrow's race, and that whole race plus qualifying consists of today and tomorrow. So everybody's starting from a fresh slate, blank sheet, whatever you want to call it. It's this qualifying session. If you're in the top 6, it's Super Pole, and then that determines where you start the race, and where you finish the race is where you finish the race. And if it's P1, you're a world champion.
What's interesting about this is, of course, we have our North American drivers and our European drivers as well. A point that you made in our earlier session for the Shell Am drivers is, of course, that European drivers potentially have a little bit more experience of this very technical Mugello circuit than some of our American drivers. So the likes of Frank Szczesniak and Thor Haugen and Jan Bernier and Matt Dalton, Cyril Choksi, David Veronin, John Viskup and Cameron Root they have perhaps a slight disadvantage. You wouldn't know it, to be honest, because they've been so competitive. And as I say that, Cameron Root is already up to P9. Times we have at the moment, the fastest is Thomas Gostner with a 1:53.387. Then it's Jan Binzing, then it's Manuela Gostner, then it's Alexander Nussbaumer, Kanchar Yagura, Thomas Loflad, Frank Szczesniak, also looking quick for Ferrari Austin. And It is Thomas Gostner at the moment, although Eric Chung has just put it P3. So we are beginning to see sometimes, Nico, affecting our board or impacting our board, and you can see those in graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. Expect those names and times to change as the session develops, because what happens here is the track evolves. The other thing that we should consider is the fact that the drivers have got limited data from dry running across this Finale Mondiale event, and therefore they're going into it, in inverted commas, relatively cold.
Yeah, that's very fair. Obviously, Mugello haven't been on the calendar so many times, especially the European drivers and the teams will have plenty of data from the past. But, you know, the track always changes year to year, week to week. And this week, as you say, dry running has come at an absolute premium, if there was any. And Alexander Nussbaumer, who we watch as he takes the final few meters across the timing line, we will give him proper due as he attacks the 152.931. Not quite there, 152.763, or rather, yes, quicker, but track limits played a role in that, and that means his P8 position doesn't improve because that time didn't count.
Big shout out to Tor Haugen for Ferrari Westlake, who had a really, really interesting conversation with Tor yesterday. He's put himself up there P4. The Gostner family are P1 and P2 at the moment, with Thomas Gostner leading with a 152.931. Manuela Gostner has given us a 154.323. Christian Herdvip now goes third fastest, ahead of Thomas Loflad, beg your pardon, Christian Kinch and Tor Haugen. So here's Alexander Nussbaumer going for it again. Whoa, good avoidance there. Very nearly clattering together. There is the man that is currently P1, Thomas Gostner. Nico, he's going even quicker. For the CDP Massimo Pepe team, he is P1. Now, I did make a mistake earlier in the week, because if you look at those colours, you think, it's not Thomas's car, it's Corinna's car. It is. And I called it as Big Corinna, but I was soon put right by our director in TV production, Franco Maselli, and a big shout out to Franco and Andrea Montali, who worked so hard for us, and he shouted at me, it's not Thomas. It's not Corinna, rather, it is Thomas. I shouted back and said, no, it's not. Pink car is always Corinna. Then he was right.
Stays in the family. Stays in the family. Thomas Gostner taking the pink car, which generally we associate with Corinna, as you rightly say, and he takes that very car round the final turn, just stays inside the white line with two wheels, so that is all good and safe in terms of track limits. It's all good and safe in terms of being in the top 6, because he was in P1, he stays in P1, improves further, 16 minutes 46 seconds. A lot will change, but for the moment it's Thomas Gostner, Fons Skeltmer, Ernst Kirchmeier, John Dillon, good showing early on, Manuela Gostner, so both Gostners up in the top 6, and Cyril Choksi rounding out the top 6 for the time being.
Yeah, the Ferrari of Denver driver Cyril Choksi then getting into the top 6. That's really, really good to see. Fons Skeltmer and Cameron Root now goes P4. Cameron Root, of course, has won the Shell Championship for North America. Been a brilliant battle all season long between Cameron Root and David Veronin, and Cameron Root taking the championship honours. And he is currently P4 for Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo. Now, Fons Skeltmer, to borrow a line from Ange Bardet, who was and is a hugely successful Ferrari Challenge driver, as we've got a yellow flag at turn 15. Fons told us this morning he was going into this and there was only one description, and that description is the one used by Ange Bardet so many times: maximum attack.
Maximum attack. Ange Bardet, four-time winner in the Ferrari Challenge, four-time champion in the Ferrari Challenge, I want to say. Fons Skeltmer going through the final turn, which is where that yellow flag was very, very momentarily. So whoever had gone off there or had a spin, whatever happened, that has disappeared, and that means our qualifying session can continue uninterrupted, which we didn't have that luxury in Shell Am earlier. We had a red flag with about 5 minutes and change remaining, which really made it very interesting towards the final few minutes, and certainly played into the strategy. Fons Skeltmer in P2, good showing from him.
Number of drivers, Nico, forgive me interrupting you so rudely, as is typical of the British. There are various track limits warnings being issued already, so that may play a part, because generally what happens in qualifying, I think you will confirm with me, is if you have a track limits violation during qualifying, that lap time is deleted.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen that play a role in qualifying over the course of the year and already in the earlier Shell Am session. And And obviously Alexander Nussbaum was one who put in the fastest lap time.
Yep.
We watched, but it didn't count that he's therefore stays far down the order, well, certainly much further down the order than he would have otherwise, P19.
Double yellow now we have at turn 9. Waved yellow flags at turn number 9. Wonder what has happened there. But if it is a car stricken, then we've got 14 and a half minutes or 14 and a quarter minutes remaining in this qualifying session. The double waved yellows continue to be used around turn number 9, and that will be the reason for that. The triple 3 car has gone around and out on a qualifying lap, and you can see is stricken now. Hopefully be able to get that Challenge Evo going again will Matt Dalton, and there you can see, and Matt unfortunately has not had the best of luck this weekend, and Matt Dalton finds it pointing in the wrong direction, but the car is still running, and hopefully he'll be, indeed he does get it pointed in the right direction again, and I think that double waved yellow has been rescinded now. Axel Sardigan out of the box delivers a 1:52.015, Nico, so he goes fastest for Luex Sportivo Herta Racing, and it was Ludovica speaking to Axel in his preparation stages, and he said, Herta Racing have given me a good car here, I've just got to pedal it. And he's coached by Daniele Diamato and Frank Herta, the chief of the Herta Racing team, certainly engineering a car, enabling Axel and his particularly long legs to pedal it to fine effect.
Yeah, Axel Sardigan, he is such a character. And
Isn't he?
You know, he took to racing very, very late in his life, and has really come so far already, and he's one of the drivers who spends 366 days a year in the car, which not next year, because it's going to be 367 because we have a leap year, so he's going to have that extra day of being in the car. He's such an entertainer, both on the track and on the microphone, and certainly in other places as well. Love to have him. Was that Eric Prenner to the right-hand side?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, no, Eric is here. Eric, another former star in the Ferrari Challenge. And yes, you can see fresh rubber being applied and anointed to the car of Kanjar Yagura, the Osaka Cornes driver. He's currently sitting P20, but new and fresh Pirelli going on. There is the Axel Sardigan car. Now it's improved through Sector 1 still further. Sector 2. Shabby, no, but not a purple sector, but don't need to have every sector purple to improve. His best time is a 1:52.015. What's this going to be from Axel Sardigan as he heads to break the timing beam now? It's not an improvement, Nico. He's just under 4/10 slower than his best lap, but he is certainly in the top 6 at the moment. Also in there, by dint of being P2 at the moment, is Thomas Gosner, who's parked the car for now. He's with Ludovica.
Thank you, guys. Hi, Thomas. How do you prepare for this qualifying session which is very, very competitive in this morning? How do you prepare with your team?
Very hard session, yes, you are very right. But they're talking by radio, I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Okay, I can repeat. Wait a moment, guys. Sorry, but
fanno un'intervista un attimino per
I'm
cortesia.
so sorry, but he's on the radio with his coach. Okay, very quickly, Thomas. How do you prepare with your team for this qualifying session?
No, there was no special preparation. We had a lot of training some days, some weeks ago before we came here. And now we need to give the best to be fast. That's the only thing what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, at the moment, Thomas is doing a very good job because he is P2. And a 1:52.672 from Thomas Gosner. Basically, the criticality here, Nico, if I can use such a fine word, I like the word criticality, is you've got to be in the top 6. And the top 6 at the moment, 5 of them are in the pit lane. The only one that's actually out there that's in the top 6 at the moment is Axel Sardigan. He's P1. Thomas Gosner, we've just heard from him. Ernst Kirkmeyer, Fons Skeltermal, who now on his way out of the pit lane. Cameron Root and David Veronin are P5 and P6. So we can also see a number of other drivers that are taken to the track, including John Dillon, Thomas Loflad, Christian Kinch, Surreal Joxy, Manu Gosner, Tor Haugen, Jan Bernier, Eric Chung. It can all change on a heartbeat and in a heartbeat here. It's just under 10 minutes remaining in this session as we watch the 322 car of Frank Szczesniak for Ferrari of Austin. And loving the livery on Frank Szczesniak's car, the mix of orange and blue, which is very similar to that of Jan Vernier as well. So I'm giving myself an excuse for confusing them on occasions.
Yeah, that absolutely accurately. And there is the von Skelterma car, the Shark. That one is one. If you look at it from the front, you absolutely cannot miss it. You cannot confuse it. It is so distinct. And we talked to Von's partner Cyril, and we feel, or we think, and she thinks it, and I couldn't doubt it, it's his 19th year that he sports the Sharks team, or the 18th or the 19th.
Okay.
And I really look forward to seeing how that looks on the 296 challenge, which obviously we will use next year. This is the last hurrah for, no, it isn't, because we will have the 488 also still in the challenge next year, but it is the 296 challenge which will enter the series next year, and I'm sure that Fons will have one of those, and he will apply his theme, his Sharks theme to the new car. I can't wait to see how that will look.
That whole ethos he's had about the Shark's teeth, which during the COVID times, you know, I had the privilege of spending an hour on air with von Skelterma, learning more about him personally, and it's all brought about from his desire from military to replicate, if you will, the mementos that used to appear on aircraft, Nico, and that's the reason behind it. But it's grown and grown and grown, because now, not only is his Ferrari Challenge car one of the most photographed cars in the paddock by dint of the Shark's teeth, it now applies to his crash helmet, to his luggage, to his leisure clothing, to almost everything. I mean, it has become such a symbol of von Skelterma.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. 7 minutes, 55 seconds. John Dillon, P8. He is the first driver who's not in the zone which will qualify you for the Super Pole, who's currently on a quick lap because the driver's in front of him. Christian Herdwipper, he's currently on an out lap, so he's not challenging for the time being. John Dillon he's trying to move himself up. It's 2 places he has to gain, but he's probably have to find the better part of 5 or 6 tenths to do that. It's not necessarily going to happen on this lap, and then obviously you have to factor in that the drivers above him might also still improve, so he will need to find every 1,000th he can. 1:52.0, that's the time of Axel starting, and the crucial time, however, at the time is 1:53.332, because that's the time for P6, for David Veronin, for the time being, holding that last spot, so he would have to get better than that. Christian Kinch also aiming for that 1:53.331 he would have to do, and a little bit more potentially.
Yes, so Christian Kinch for Gome Herta Racing then, who's had torrid luck this weekend, hoping to right the wrongs of this week rather than this weekend, is Christian Kinch. And don't think this particular lap is going to be the one that puts it into the books for him to be into the top 6. He is currently 10th, as you can see, for the back-to-guard liveried car. Christian Kinch breaks the timing beam right now, and it is a 1:54.080. So he's got to find, if he wants to be right at the sharp end of this qualifying session, a second and a half or so. So Christian Kinch, very, very likely to do that. Cyril Choksi has gone personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Alexander Nussbaumer making way for him. Very good gentlemanly driving there from Alexander Nussbaumer. Cyril Choksi heads towards the timing beam now. Bear in mind, it's the top 6 that will be going through, and Cyril Choksi moves himself up a good number of positions, 3 in fact, but it's still not enough to get him into the top 6, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about Alexander Nussbaum, before we go to Manu Gosner, who is on a very, very quick one through the first sector, through the second sector as well. So she's on trajectory for P1 and certainly for the top 6. Alexander Nussbaum totally out of position in P21. We saw on that lap where he had a track limit infringement. He was 150 through, which would have been good enough for a top 6 place. But it didn't count, and he has to do it all over again.
Yeah, and that's taken a lot out of the tyres. We're going to yellow flag at the final turn, which means no one is going to improve if they're not ahead of the final turn, because the yellow flag, I can see no reason for it, and sure enough, the yellow flag has now gone, and well, that really compromised Manu's lap, Nico, because you called it correctly. She was on an absolute flyer. But now, not only was that lap compromised, she's got traffic ahead of her, she's got to do it all over again, and we are beginning, forgive me, to run out of time here. because we're into the final 5 minutes.
Absolutely, and it actually ruined both her laps, the previous one, and obviously she had no momentum coming out of the final turn.
To start this one.
So this lap actually was already done before she actually started it. So she will have the luxury, not that she wants it, she will have the luxury of this lap to gain track position and position herself for that next attack. But as you say, it's that one or none. Alexander Nussbaumer, we watch the time on our timing screen because he's been so quick. He's not quick at all currently. Well, certainly not quick on the timing screen. P21. Well, he's now P22. That is plumb last as Christian Herdwipper, who is in P7, the first one who would not make it to the next round, which is Super Pole, but he is attacking and he's entering that final turn where there is no yellow flag right now. So he's not compromised by any flags being waved by the marshals. He just keeps it within the white lines. No track limit warning on this. So this will count and this will improve him from P7. Will it?
No.
No.
And we are still seeing track limits issues around turn 4. Those concerning Yanbin Singh, I think it was one of those drivers, and also Thomas Loflad. Top 6 at the moment, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Sardigan, Skeltermar, Gostner, Kirkmayer, Veronin ahead of Root now for P5 and P6. But both David Veronin and Cameron Root are vulnerable in that drop zone with 3.5 minutes remaining. Christian Herdwipper and Cyril Choksi trying to improve, so too John Dillon. In fact, the rest of the drivers all trying to improve, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Kinch on a good trajectory. He is on his way into the top 6 if he can continue that trajectory. Also, very good first sector, but again, track limits. Alexander Nussbaumer, drama building for the likable driver, and you can see his time on the timing screen, which is purple, but it doesn't count because that track limit infringement means that this lap for him is irrelevant. Christian Kinch, nothing irrelevant about this lap time. 1:52.0, 1:53.623, still not quite good enough. Obviously, I mean, let's be fair, even if you don't make it to the top 6 wherever you finish this session, that position will be your starting position. So there is a big difference between P21 and P7, but you obviously want to get into the P6, especially if you're a quick driver like Alexander Nussbaumer. So he's going to stay in P22 after this one, and that means he's got 2 more shots at this. Looking at the time, it's going to be this, and he will have just enough time for another one after this one.
Where would this lap have put him had he not had a track limit?
Probably P5, something like that. 1:53.8. So no, it would have been P11, but P11 is still a lot better than P22.
Oh, of course, absolutely, of course. Manu Gostner then, who's we have identified, has had to go and do it all over again. Because she slowed and had to slow just at the wrong possible moment and had traffic as well. She's found, with the help of her driver coach, Giorgio Sonagiotto, a relatively clear tarmac, and she's doing personal best Sector 1 and Sector 2. You can see the team from Massimo Pepe racing there on the pit wall with Giorgio Sonagiotto with the headphones on, talking to Manuela, motivating, encouraging. Eric Priernot standing just behind us. Manu Gostner, who's currently P12, she's done personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Needs to be a big improvement as she heads towards the timing beam then. Manuela Gostner, who is currently P12, as she breaks the timing beam, she improves to P5. She's just in, and that has cost Cameron Root his entry into the Super Pole Club at the moment.
Absolutely. Your cutoff time now is a 1:53.199. That's the time of David Veronin, who again finds himself in P6, and anyone who wants to have any hope of getting there has to beat that time. Alexander Nussbaumer, we watched him on the timing screen. He's on a good trajectory, 3.5 tenths down after 2 sectors, but that would easily be enough to make it into the top 6, which would put Manuela Gostner on the hot seat. She just got in, but she would be on the verge of dropping out again. But Alexander Nussbaumer hasn't done his lap.
Is Cyril Choksi going to knock someone out of the Super Pole Club? He get a brilliant Sector 1, less good Sector 2. He was P11 and stays P11 because Sector 3, he's going to have one more lap here, Nico. He needs to find some time.
Yeah, Alexander Nussbaumer lost a lot of time in the final sector. Maybe there was traffic, but he's up to P8, so disaster averted. And as you can see, the time is now run out. So anybody who's crossed the timing line, including Nussbaumer, who's still got that lap remaining, anybody who crosses the finish line from here on out, that's the quali session done and dusted. Here is Cameron Root. He is P8. He was part of the elite club for a long time. He's no longer. Will that lap be good enough? It's possible. It's possible. The deficit after 2 sectors was just within the range of what would still allow him entry. 1:53.083 is the determining line. 1:53.043. He's done it. Christian Herdwipper knocked out of the top 6, and Cameron Root, the North American driver, makes sure that he's, for the time being, part of the club. Manuela Gostner now on the hot seat. She wants to get better. She wants to get some cushion. Thomas Loeffler trying to get in. No, he can't do it, unfortunately for him. Manuela Gostner on the hot seat, still P6. Christian Herdwipper, he's out of the club, and there is Alexander Nussbaumer. He is still going for it, so he is potentially the one who might jeopardize Manu Gostner's entry into the elite club. Will we see him? Yes, we will, thanks to the guys in the OB van. Dave.
Alexander Nussbaumer then is probably going to be the final one to show. Now, Sector 1 and Sector 2, we're looking a bit shabby, and he's got so much time to make up, Nico. I think he's bailed it. I think he realizes that it's futile because Sector 1 and Sector 2, his cumulative time, he was so far down, wasn't he? About 3.5 seconds down. He's not going to be able to do it, so he will peel off into the pit lane. We have, I think, our order. Who else is out there? Is there anyone? There's no one else that can improve now. So, going through to Super Pole this afternoon from Coppa Shell will be Axel Sardigan, von Skeltermar, Thomas Gostner, Ernst Kirchmeier, Cameron Root, and then Manuela Gostner.
2 Gostners in the top 6, 2 Gostners in the Super Pole. Von Skeltermar, who was a little bit disappointed, I think, yesterday with just losing out on P3 overall in Shell Europe. He is certainly part of in the mix for this afternoon. P2 in this session, Ernst Kirchmeier, Axel Sardigan. I mean, we said it early in the season, the who is who in Coppa Shell. You know, you've got so many candidates who you would consider viable candidates for the title, viable candidates for this Super Pole. Looking at drivers out of position, potentially Christian Kinchen P11, Alexander Nussbaumer P9, avoided the major disaster. I think Christian Herdwipper will feel a little bit.
To the right-hand side of your picture there is driver coach to John Dillon, Matt Griffin. Matt Griffin, a fine racing driver. And there you can see on the Baron Motorsport pit wall there is Philip Baron, the headmaster. Formidable character, it has to be said. And Ines Rule is a team manager, but Philip Baron is the headmaster. He's a scary guy, you know. Oh, very much so, yes. You can see that the pit lane is full of activity. A great job done by Axel Sardigan and Luik Sportivo. And big shout out to Daniele Diamato, who is Axel Sardigan's driver coach. Top 6 then for Super Pole, confirmed. Axel Sardigan, von Skeltermar, Thomas Gostner, Ernst Kirchmeier, Cameron Root, and Manuela Gostner. Let's hear from Thomas Gostner, who's P3. Ludovica is with Thomas right now.
Thomas, we talked a few minutes ago, but now we have the correct result. What a qualification, both for you and Manu.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. You need to have a lot of luck in this qualification because it's a lot of traffic in there. But I was so lucky that I could go at first, and so I made my 2-3 turns, and that was it. But very, very lucky, very good, very good. I'm very happy, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done, Thomas Gostner. He is P3. Manu Gostner is P6. Kind of actually doesn't matter whether you're P1 or P6, Nico. If you're in the club, you're in the club, and you've got a chance to be on pole position. Their confirmation once again, and that's how close it is between Manu Gostner and Christian Herdwipper. Merely 3/10.
3/100.
3/100. I beg your pardon. You're right.
3/100. So Christian Herdwipper will feel. Could have done. Where did I lose those 3/100s? Well, it's such little time that you kind of, you know, wherever. There is, however, when it all was said and done, P6 Manu Gostner in the club.
When all was said and done, as you rightly say, Manu Gostner has put it in there. So too has Cameron Root. He is going to be a danger man for the Finale Mondiale. He's on an absolute confidence rush because, of course, he has sealed the Shell Championship. Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo driver. Ernst Gerschmeyer, never ever discount the man from Austria on the Goen Baron Motorsport 488 Challenge Evo. He's P4. Now, Thomas Gostner, sporting the colours of Corinna, he's put it to P3 with a time of 1:52.672, beg your pardon. And then for Kessel Racing, the Shark's teeth bit and bit hard today. Von Skeltemer just 2.5 tenths behind our P1 driver in that qualifying session. So for Kessel Racing, Von Skeltemer is through into Superpole and then leading the charge going into our Superpole showdown this afternoon. The Lueg Sportivo Hertha Racing driver Axel Sardigan, our Coppa Shell champion. He's done a great job. He said he'd got a good car underneath him. He has pedalled it and pedalled it well. He goes into Superpole this afternoon as the fastest driver from our qualifying session. There you have it, Finale Mondiale Coppa Shell. Qualifying done and dusted. And the next session will be our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am qualifying at 1 o'clock. Please make sure you join us for that. From Nico and from myself, thank you so much. And bye-bye for now.